All right. Let's do this. Let's do this for realsies. What's up, guys? Welcome back to MURKtv. Hello. Hi, I'm MURKtv. How are you guys? I'm your favorite talking head that watches news with you, like a friend on the couch. Anyway, hello. I'm back. We're gonna do our normal, just news dump stuff. Today was a day I wanted to take everyone down a little bit of a rabbit hole for about an hour. So yeah, I broke the stream up today a little bit. Okay, we had an hour to kind of hang out and talk about Russell Dermond, a tale of three Russells, if you will. If you haven't watched that stream, watch that stream. I'm sure whoever I've got here with me was in there during it. So, but again, hello. I'm gassy. I'm ready to watch some news. So I know it's Monday. Don't even have to look at the calendar. I've got Monday levels of indigestion. How are you guys doing? Let me know in the chat how you're doing. Hop in this Discord. Let me know how you're doing. You can find our Discord link now on pillar.io/MURKtv. That's pillar.io/MURKtv. MURKtv. You also will find our sponsorship link there. Boom. Death Wish Coffee, guys. This is a paid endorsement. You should drink Death Wish coffee. Why should you drink Death Wish coffee? Because it's the world's strongest coffee. Get the espresso roast. Got notes of caramelized sugar, apparently. It's delish. Check it out. Keep yourself energized. Fuel that caffeine addiction. All right, I've got the live coverage of the Nikolas Cruz trial pulled up, and that's what we're gonna start with. It's been going on for a couple of hours, so I've gone back in time, and we're gonna hit play. So let's just go ahead and load this up. Again, feel free to interrupt this. Pop in. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me that you don't like Nikolas Cruz. Let's keep the energy good today and get through some horrible news together.
Just superficial conversation, but I just need to find out whether or not that's true. I have an affidavit from someone at the office.
Here we have Nikolas Cruz in his giant glasses. Lord.
I'm not sure. Have you had any discussion with any doctors, employees, or personnel about your role as a juror in this case?
Well, I was having an appointment that I had to cancel, and so I said that I was on the jury.
Okay. The person whose name is Jessica Fritz says that you were describing the defendant physically and talking specifics about the death penalty and talking about your feelings about the death penalty and asking her feelings about the death penalty.
Is this true?
Actually, the person says that this happened some time ago, and it was hard for her to remember the exact words, so perhaps it wasn't last week as I said that.
Yeah.
I don't remember describing the defendant or anything to anyone.
Okay, and ma'am, I don't need to embarrass you at all, but
oh goodness,
I'm just going to give the affidavit to you and let you read it and see if that's something.
They just ran the tapes with no warning, huh? That's wild, Scott. I bet you they did. I mean, did they just come in hot today? I know the broadcasts I've got on, they're just rolling, but
It's just really not true.
Okay, that's why I asked you.
we'll see. I bet you they just come in hot.
I'm sorry to have embarrassed you or.
Sorry that we're going to go through this.
No, that's okay.
Just
So,
my. Oh yeah, look at this nice little boom mic we got going on.
Is that a no?
Boom, little desk arm. Give you guys my sweet ASMR.
Did you have any conversation at all with this person, Jessica Fritz?
Save myself from projecting
And
so often.
So, did you have any discussion regarding your feelings about the death penalty with anyone? And have you talked about this case with anyone?
Just that I'm a juror.
And you're allowed to say that?
Yeah.
but you haven't had any discussion about feelings about the death penalty or knowing how to process how you feel about the death penalty or anything like that?
Welcome back,
And
Brian.
have you had any discussion about what's going on in this courtroom?
No.
Okay. All right. And do you understand my instruction that I gave about not talking about the case? Okay. All right. Thank you very much, ma'am. No, don't apologize. I apologize. I had to bring it to your attention. It was my duty to do so. But if this is not accurate, then it's me who should be apologizing. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, the juror under oath says that this is not true. So what are you all asking me to do?
What are you asking her to do? What are you asking her to do?
Why would the person say that? I mean,
There could be a lot of reasons. I mean, sometimes people are just mean. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying this person is, but I'm saying people say things for all different reasons. Because they want their moment of fame, because they want to put their nose where it doesn't belong, or you know, I mean, I don't know. But I certainly can't take the word of someone I've never met over a juror who I've spent hours and hours observing, who just swore under oath that this is absolutely not true.
Judge, we were on an obligation to step forward to the court.
I'm sorry?
We were under an obligation.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I don't have a crystal ball, but this juror has never appeared to be anything but forthcoming and honest and answering the attorney's questions and my questions, and she said it didn't happen, so I find her credible.
It's also entirely possible that unless, I mean, I don't know who she spoke to from the state, but that there's a juror with those initials.
There isn't. I went through all
And different ones. Well,
there's AC, but not AK.
I was reminded of one for sure.
Possibly not a seated juror, Judge, but maybe a juror that came through.
It was our decision.
Yeah, how are they even going to defend this kid?
It was our decision.
I don't think he's got a defense.
Oh, okay.
What are you going to do? How are you going to defend this kid?
Okay, other than that, are we ready to bring in the panel?
take a short 2-minute.
Sure, we're going to take a 2-minute recess.
A brief 2-minute recess. Let's jump forward. Where are we at with it now?
Action, or whether he just, can't.
Hop forward a little bit. Let's just get into it. Do we have anybody that takes a stand? Anything spicy? Let's get this guy covering it a little bit.
Is it going to be for these people to avoid this trial that so many people in South Florida?
Let's see. Court resumes shortly. Back it up a little.
Sitting in front of him, people who he had planned, potentially not to be there. And certainly you can see the emotion. He's got his head buried in his hands, right now, whether or not that's just simply a reaction or whether he just, can't take the gravity of what's going on here.
This has been such a long day for these parents who listened to the very powerful opening statement by Mike Satz, taking you through Cruz's movements inside Building 12 and at MSD, and then just to start, hearing from these witnesses and
Here's
seeing the video and
statements.
hearing the audio. And it sounds like maybe we are back with this witness on the stand. Let's take a listen.
Can you see the diagram?
Hop over here. I found the opening statements.
Whether mitigating circumstances.
Shouldn't have been any surprises. Perhaps they're seeking a clarification.
And I think what we're listening to right now is we are listening to
Here we go.
Hi, we can hear you. We're sort of balancing the on-air and the online, but
Yeah,
hello,
age,
Alexis.
mental
Nice
illness.
to see you.
Murder. Mass murder. of 14 children, an athletic director, a teacher, and a coach. These brutal murders occurred at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, and it happened on February the 14th, 2018.
Yeah, all
3
premeditated.
days before these brutal murder, this massacre, the defendant
he won't get away scot-free.
made a cell phone
What up,
video
Tripper?
on his cell phone. And this is what the defendant
What
said.
up?
Hello, my name is Nick. I'm going to be the next school shooter of 2018. My goal is at least 20 people with an AR-15 and some tracer rounds.
What?
It's going to be a big event. And when you see me on the news, you'll know who
Hey, good
I
morning,
am.
Barney. Welcome, everybody.
You're
Welcome,
all
everybody.
going to die.
Get in here.
Yeah.
Get up in here.
Wait. Yeah. I can't wait. Cold,
Smash that thumbs up for me.
calculated, manipulative, and deadly. Now, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School is located at 5901 Pine Island Road in Parkland, Florida. It's bordered by Homburg Road on the north side, the Sawgrass Expressway on the south side, Pine Island Road on the east side, and on the west side.
I think there's a
is
reason to
Carl
make a
Ridge
distinction
Drive.
with assault
But
rifles,
if you-
depending
you'll
on the
see
area
that
you're
before you
in.
get to Carl Ridge Drive to the
But again,
west,
as I think it's like suburban and rural where this happened, right? Fort Lauderdale in the area that it happened. It's not necessarily metropolitan.
you'll see that Marjorie Stoneman High School kind of resembles a college
Like suburban
campus.
Fort Lauderdale.
There was approximately 13 buildings spread out over the campus. Most of the buildings were 1- and 2-story buildings, except for one. The one building that is not a 1- or 2-story building is a 3-story building, and it's known as the 1200 building or the freshman building. The 1200 building is located on the northeast side of the campus. So it's bordered on the north by Homburg Road and Pine Island on the east. It's a 3-story building, and there's 2 entrances to the 1200 building. There's an entrance on the east side, and there's an entrance on the west side. And both those east and west entrances open up to the first floor hallway. The entrances are a double door on the east side and a double door on the west side. And to the right of those double doors, there's a secondary door, both on the east side and on the west side. And this secondary door leads up into the first floor landing of the stairwell.
Interesting.
The stairwells go up to the 3rd floor, both on the east side and on the west side. There are 10 classrooms on each floor of the 1200 building. There's 6 classrooms on the south side of the hall. There's 4 classrooms on the north side of the hall, and that holds true for the 1st floor, 2nd floor, and the 3rd floor. And Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, back on February the 14th, 2018, had a surveillance system, and there are approximately 76 cameras that spread out through the campus. And these cameras were motion activated. And what that means is they have to detect motion before they record. So if there's nothing moving, they don't record. In the 1200 building, there were 13 cameras. There were 3 cameras on the 1st floor, 3 cameras on the 2nd floor, and 3 cameras on the 3rd floor. And these cameras are installed in the ceiling. So there was a camera on the east side in the ceiling, a camera in the center in the ceiling, and a camera on the west in the ceiling, 3 cameras, and there's 3 cameras just like that in the ceilings on the 1st floor, 2nd floor, and 3rd floor. The camera on the east side, up on the ceiling, focuses west. The camera in the center of the ceiling focuses west. The camera on the west side focuses east. And that's true for the 1st floor, 2nd floor, and the 3rd floor. And there are 2 additional cameras in each stairwell. There's one on the 3rd floor of the stairwell, one on the 2nd floor of the stairwell, and that's true for the west stairwell and the east stairwell. There are 13 cameras in the 1200 building.
We're breaking down how we have footage of them. You know what's going on?
There are no cameras in the classrooms. And again, these cameras are motion activated. So you will see a surveillance video from the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School from February the 14th, 2018.
What up, Debbie?
You will see the defendant on the 1st floor fire a rifle.
What up, Debbie?
Shoot and kill 9 students, the athletic
One of our day
director,
ones.
and a coach. And the athletic director and
One of
the
our
coach
day ones,
were
Debbie.
both campus monitors. You will see the defendant fire his rifle 6 times on the 2nd floor. And you will see him shoot and kill 5 students on the 3rd floor and a teacher on the 3rd floor.
What up,
You will
Justin?
see him wound 13
We got
other
the EP
students
in the
on
house.
1st floor.
We got our
And
executive
you'll
producer,
see him
baby.
wound 3 other students on the 3rd floor and wounding of a teacher. You will not see every single second of that surveillance video. You're going to say, why? Because it's what? It's motion activated. When the defendant fired his rifle, the percussion in the hallway was so loud that it caused the ceiling tile, the dust from the ceiling tile,
Whoa.
to fall down. And when the dust from the ceiling, and it looks like smoke, and when it comes down, it prevented the cameras from detecting some of the motion of the defendant. But most of it is there, and you will see it. The cameras are motion activated. You will also learn that because of the percussion of the defendant firing his rifle, it also affected the fire alarm system. So at 2:20, 2:38, and I'll get back to why that time is important, this fire alarm goes off because the fire alarm system was not able to detect the difference between what? Between smoke and dust. The defendant attended Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School from August the 15th, 2015 to February the 8th, 2017, and he was also a member of the JROTC. Let me take you back to Valentine's Day, February the 14th, 2018. A Uber stops in front of the east gate to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. It's a pedestrian gate on the east side on Pine Island Road. It's a female Uber driver. The defendant gets out of the seat, the rear seat of the Uber, I think it was a RAV4, and he gets out and he's carrying a black case and a backpack.
Debbie,
Now,
how'd the fight
school's
go?
in session. It's Wednesday.
Real quick, guys, we got some personal catching up to do. Debbie, how did the fight go? You gotta let me know. You know we had our fingers crossed for your daughter's fight. But yeah. What, full KO? Like a bouse? Like a bouse? Oh wait, I'm right here. Boom, like a bouse. About another hour of work, Justin. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I'll be here for a while. At least 3 hours probably. Probably do a 3-hour stream today at least.
February the 14th.
Because we did an hour earlier.
It's approximately 2:19 p.m. The school starts at 7:40 a.m., Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and the last class ends at 2:40. The gates open in the morning for students to enter and go to class, and then they close. And then they open again, so right before school ends at 2:40, 20 or 30 minutes before. So what? The students can leave the campus. So it's 2:19 p.m. The defendant is carrying a black case and a backpack.
Let's see, Debbie says it was stopped in the last round with 30 seconds left to go. She didn't win, but she done really well. We're really proud of her, too. Hey, they had to stop in the last 30 seconds. Ooh, within 30 seconds left to go. Ooh. Ooh.
And this
Like it was a good fight, though.
It's commonly known
Yeah.
as
Proud of her, too, Debbie.
This rifle
Doubt out.
fires not only 5.56 caliber ammunition, but also fires .223 caliber ammunition. The gun will fire both. This gun is commonly known as an AR-15. It's a semi-automatic rifle. This weapon will fire as many bullets as it contains in the firearm magazine. And this is the way this 5.6
Heck yeah.
Smith & Wesson
Yeah, I'm glad it was a good fight.
TF 16214 is the serial number. This is the way this gun operates. What you do is you load the firearm magazine with bullets. And the bullet is about like this for a 5.56 and a .223. And you put those bullets in the magazine, you load them in the magazine, and the bullets will go in as many as the magazine will hold. So if it's a 40-round magazine, you can stick in 40 bullets. If it's a 30-round magazine, you can stick in 30 bullets. So you fill up the magazine, and then you take the magazine and with how many bullets you have in it, and you stick it into the magazine well of the rifle. And then you pull back the lever, and you charge a bullet that goes into the firing chamber, and you pull the trigger. This weapon will fire as quickly as you can pull the trigger. And that's what the defendant had. And
Hey.
the Uber driver
Breakdown of the weapon.
picked up the defendant to bring him to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School from 7200 Loxahatchee Road. 72 Loxahatchee Road was the home of Kimberly and James Sneed and their son, J.T. Sneed. J.T. Sneed was a friend of the defendants. They both went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School together. They were
Oh, it was a
both
charity
members
boxing
of the
event for cancer,
JROTC
Debbie? Extra.
together.
Your daughter's
And
the
a
best.
short time after Thanksgiving of 2017, the defendant came to live with the Sneeds. He had his own bedroom. He was attending school. He was working
Living with the
at
Sneeds.
the Dollar Tree. The Sneeds took the defendant in and offered him a place to live. Why? The defendant's adopted mother passed away November 1st, 2017. The defendant needed a place to live. The Sneeds made the offer. The defendant moved in with them. And it was a short time after Thanksgiving. These murders happened when? February the 14th, 2018. On this particular, and when the defendant arrived at Marjorie Stoneman High School on Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018, he had been planning to be a school shooter long before he moved in with the Sneeds and long before his mother passed away. On this particular Wednesday, on this particular Valentine's Day, the defendant gets out of the Uber. He goes through the passenger gate. He's wearing his backpack. He's carrying his black case. It was a black Cabela bag case with a rifle in it. And he walks about 360 feet from Pine Island Road
so wild.
to the east entrance double doors.
Breaking down every second of
He
it.
walks in through the east double doors, makes an immediate right-hand turn, and walks in to the bottom floor of the stairwell, of the east stairwell. He takes his rifle out of the Cabela bag, black bag, and as he's preparing his rifle to fire, in walks a student, Christopher McKenna. Christopher McKenna was a student in classroom 1216. 1216 is on the first floor. It's the second classroom from the east double door entrances. Christopher McKenna was out on the bathroom pass, and he was going up to the second floor because at the time, the first floor restrooms and the third floor restrooms were locked. And so the security could watch people go to the second floor because they were concerned about, different activities in the first floor and third floor, kids going there vaping or hiding out or whatever. So for a security measure, they did lock the bathroom doors on the first floor and the third floor. So Christopher McKenna gets a pass from his teacher.
Yeah, let us know when it's on
Ms.
YouTube.
Haas,
Heck yes.
1216, she taught English, approximately 30 students in her class. He gets his pass, walks down the hall, bumps into a couple of kids, and you'll see the video of him bumping fists with two of the students, and he walks into the stairwell as the defendant, Nikolas Cruz, is preparing his M&P 15 rifle. And the defendant says to Christopher McKenna, "You better get out of here. Something bad is about to happen." Christopher McKenna runs out. Remember I described the secondary door that's in the stairwell? He runs out that east door, and he runs to find a campus monitor. When he runs out, the defendant enters the first floor hallway. And when he enters the first floor hallway, there are 4 students in the hallway. He gets out, and he fires his weapon at the 4 students in the hallway. The time, 2:21:33. 2:21:33, the massacre begins. Here's who the 4 students were in the first floor hallway. Ashley Baez was walking west in the hallway in front of classroom 1215. And let me describe what existed on the south side. There's 6 classrooms on the south side. So the first classroom on the south side is 1218.
There we go.
The next class, the numbers aren't
This new
consistent,
microphone
but the
setup.
next classroom is 1215, classroom 1215. So sitting in front of classroom 1215 is a student, Gina Montalto. And she asked permission from the teacher in 1215. By the way, it was a personalization class, so you can catch up on your homework and do different things, different from when I went to school, but you can do whatever you want in homework, whatever, like a study hall. So she asked Miss Matlock if she could go out in the hall and work on her computer because it was more private and she could get more work done on her project. Miss Matlock had offered her to go to a different classroom or somewhere else. Gina said, "No, fine, I'd like to do that." So she's sitting, and when you watch the video, you'll see her legs sticking out from the front of classroom 1215. Standing next to her, knocking on the door to classroom 1215, was Martin Duque Aquilano and Luke Hoyer. Martin and Luke were coming back from, and you can get permission to go to other classes. They were coming back from somewhere near the administration building. They had to do something. And you'll see them actually coming back down the corridor and walking in. And you'll see him, Luke or Martin, bump fists with Chris McKenna. So they're standing at the door of classroom 1215, and they're knocking to get in, because procedure is when class is in session, the classroom door is supposed to be locked. The defendant fires at Martin Duque Aquilano, Gina Montalto, and Luke Hoyer. He then turns and goes over to classroom 1216. Remember I described that? That's where Christopher McKenna left from. That's Miss Ha's English class, approximately 24 students in there. He fires into 1216. You'll see on all the doors in the 1200 building, there is a glass window in the metal door. And this window is approximately 8 inches wide and 42 inches long. The defendant fired through that window, shattering the window, and shooting and killing Alex Schachter, who was sitting in his desk. The defendant then turns right outside of classroom 1216. He kneels down, he takes off his backpack, unzips his backpack, and pulls out a black tactical vest.
What?
And you'll see the vest. This vest has pouches all over it, so you can stick firearm magazines in it. There were 10 firearm magazines.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that detail. I didn't know that detail at all.
The defendant kneels,
Oh,
takes
man.
it out, puts the vest on, takes the expended magazine out of the magazine well of the rifle, and puts in a new magazine. He stands up and he walks over to 1215, where Martin Duque and Lou Coyer and Gina Montaldo were, and he fires into them. And then he fires into classroom 1214. Remember I said there's 1218, then there's 1215, and then there's 1214. And 1214 and 1215 are adjoining. Their doors are right next to one another. The defendant fires through the glass window and shatters it, and fires into classroom 1214. 1214 is a class that was being taught by Ivy Seamus. She was teaching Holocaust history. He fires in to 1214, and he shoots and kills Helena Ramsey. He shoots and kills Nicholas Dorette, and he wounds Samantha Grady, Samantha Fuentes, Isabel Checker, and Danielle Menescu. He then turns away from 1214 and walks back across the hall to 1216. And he fires again through the shattered window in 1216. This time he shoots and kills Alyssa Alfadef. He shoots and kills Elena Petty. He wounds Justin Colton. He wounds William Olson. He wounds Genesis Valentin. He wounds Kishaba Magaporian. And he wounds Alexander Dorette, the brother of Nicholas Dorette, who was shot and killed across the hall in 1214. He then turns and walks away from 1216, and he's walking west. At this time, through the west double doors comes running Christopher Hickson. Christopher Hickson was a campus monitor and an athletic director. He comes running through the west doors. The defendant sees him and fires his rifle at Christopher Hickson. Christopher Hickson is hit. He's severely wounded. He falls to the ground, and he crawls over to an alcove on the north side of the first floor hallway. The defendant continues to walk west, and he's walking west. He passes Gina Montaldo, Martin Duque Aquiano, and Lou Coyer again.
Oh,
And he fires into them again. Then he proceeds west. Now he goes to classroom 12.
crazy, Debbie.
1213 is
It is
now
heartwarming.
the third classroom from the east side. You have 1217, 1216. Remember, he fired into 1216. Now this is 1213. 1213 is a psychology class being taught by Renette Riobin. And he does, the defendant, Nikolas Cruz, does this again. He fires through that window, shatters the glass, shoots and kills 16-year-old Carmen Shentrum. He wounds Madeline Wilford. He wounds Samantha Mayer. And he wounds Benjamin Wickander. He then turns and walks west again. And as he's walking west, he passes Christopher Hickson. And you'll see it. He turns like this and shoots Christopher Hickson again. He continues to walk west, the defendant does, and he reaches the west stairwell door entrance to the stairwell. And he walks into that door, and as he walks in that door, the outside door, remember I said the secondary door, just like on the east side, on the west side? That door opens. And who is it? It's Coach Aaron Feist, who's also a campus monitor. Aaron Feist is the campus monitor that Chris McKenna ran to find to tell him about what he saw. So here's Aaron Feist opening the door. And as the defendant is walking in the first floor stairwell, he turns and he fires his rifle and shoots and kills Aaron Feist. Aaron Feist is shot twice in the chest. He falls right outside the class, that west outside door. The door closes and he falls right outside that door. The defendant then goes up the west stairwell. And as he's going up the west stairwell, there are also, as I said, 10 classrooms on the second floor. Now, the teachers and the students, they heard the shots. And when the fire alarm goes off at 2:22:38, the procedure is to evacuate. No, they didn't evacuate. The defendant fired 70 shots on the first floor and 2 shots in the stairwell. So the teachers and students on the second floor, they heard that. So they didn't follow the procedure of evacuating when there's a fire drill. They fired the procedure that if there's an active shooter, you get away from the door and you turn off the lights and you be quiet. And that's exactly what the students and teachers on the second floor did. So when the defendant gets up on the second floor, he looks in a couple of the classrooms and he fires into classroom 1234 and 1231, shatters the windows. There was nobody in 1234 or 1231. He He fired 6 shots on the second floor. And he goes to the east side stairwell to go up to the 3rd floor now. Now, the students and the teachers on the 3rd floor, they heard some noises, but they weren't distinct like the students and teachers heard on the 2nd floor of the shots being fired. So they didn't hear like gunfire, they didn't hear shots. But what they did, they were responding to the fire drill. So the classes empty out, they follow the procedures. Some are going to go down the west stairwell, some are going to go down the east stairwell. But when the kids are doing that and they're going down the stairwell, then they hear the gunshots on the 2nd floor. So what do? They race back up the east stairwell and the west stairwell, and they run as fast as they can to get back into their classrooms for safety. So when the defendant walks up the east stairwell, there's a teacher helping his students get into his classroom. His name was Scott Beagle. He was 35 years old, and he was teaching geography in classroom 1256. 1256 is the first classroom from the east side on the north side of the hallway. He has the door open, the kids are going in. The defendant pops out of the east stairwell door and fires into Scott Beagle 4 times, killing him. And he falls right in the entrance to his classroom. And next to Scott Beagle's classroom is 1255 on the north side. And that classroom was an English teacher, Stacy Lapel. And she's hustling all the kids to get into her class.
This is a hell of an opening
And she was successful in
statement.
doing that, but as she's the last one there to close the door, the defendant shoots at her.
You can't
and
defend
wounds
this
her.
kid.
And she closes the door and goes back into her classroom. The defendant continues to fire on the 3rd floor. He's firing from east to west. There are 2 girls, 2 students, Carol Logren and Meadow Pollock. They're in front of classroom 1249 on the south side of the hall. The defendant shoots both of them. And they fall and they go huddle into the alcove of classroom 1249. He fires and hits and wounds Kyle Lehman, Marian Kabachenko, and Anthony Borges. The other students are running away down the hall. They're running from the defendant. He shoots again, and he hits Joaquim Oliver, and Joaquim Oliver ran into the alcove of the men's restroom. Jamie Guttenberg was racing down the hall to get to the stairwell door, and she was shot. Peter Wang, he was doing the same thing. He was running to the stairwell door to run down.
People as they were fleeing.
He was shot.
There's no defending this kid.
The defendant
There's
then
none.
proceeded west again. And as he passes classroom 1249, just as he did on the first floor when he went by Gina Montaldo and Martin Duquet and Luke Hoyer and Christopher Hickson, he fires into Kara Logren and Meadow Pollock as they were huddled in the alcove of 1249. He then leaves and moves further west. He looks into the alcove of the men's restroom where Joaquim Oliver was wounded. He was shot in the leg. He couldn't run. The defendant fires into and kills Joaquim Oliver. The defendant then turns and walks further down the hall. Jamie Guttenberg was able to reach the door, but she collapsed on the third floor stairwell, and that's where she died. She died on the third floor stairwell of that building. Peter Wang was shot, and he was lying in the southwest
Well, and this one's a little bit
corner,
different
right
than
in front
Uvalde.
of the west stairwell door.
Debbie.
The defendant walks up to him and fires into Peter
yeah.
Wang again.
There has to be something
Peter
done.
Wang
There has
was
to be
shot
somewhere between
13 times. The defendant
the right
then
and the
looks
left
out
to
this
get along
little
and try to
window
prevent things like
in
this.
the stairwell on the west side. He turns and he walks over to room
I think policing might be
1240.
somewhere-
Now, 1240 is
might
not
be
a classroom.
part of the
It's
answer.
a teacher's lounge. And teachers go there, I guess, to papers or whatever they're doing,
I agree with
lunch,
that
whatever. There's
sentiment.
desks in there, and there's a men's room and a ladies' room in there, restrooms.
Oh, no
and
worries,
a
Justin.
couple other rooms.
This was Nikolas Cruz. This is from 2018, I believe in. See, well, this is Fort Lauderdale, but I forget the name of the school. But Nikolas Cruz, we actually have some history with him on the stream. We watched his interrogation. He's the kid that tried to act like he was crazy, but it was very clear he was putting it on and not realizing that there were cameras there. So, yeah.
Attached once you go into the classroom, to the teacher's lounge.
Yeah,
1240.
absolutely,
The
Debbie.
defendant shoots
Not everybody
the glass
should.
because 1240 had a glass just like all the other, other rooms, the other classrooms, 8 inches wide, 42 inches long. He shoots through that window and he goes.
Wish there was a way to
1240.
properly police it.
Now, when you go into 1240, there's a window on the south side looking over the campus, and there's a window on the west side looking over the campus. And they look over a courtyard, they look over walkways, and they look over parking lots. The defendant fires his rifle at the west window, and you'll see there's 5 bullet holes in the west window, and he fires 5 shots out of the south window. He then leaves 1240. He passes the body of Peter Wang. He opens the west stairwell door. He passes the body of Jamie Guttenberg. He takes off his vest, lays it down on the third floor landing stairwell, takes his rifle, lays it down, and he runs out. The defendant is wearing a maroon JROTC Stoneman Douglas ROTC shirt that students get when they're members of the JROTC. He's wearing black pants, he's wearing a dark blue baseball cap, and he's wearing glasses. He runs down the west stairwell, and he runs down and runs out of the door and he passes Aaron Place. He leaves the 1200 building at 2:27:55. He started his shooting at 2:21:33. He leaves the 1200 building at 2:27:55. He runs west. Then he turns south
That's
and
a
runs by the
quick
tennis courts.
attack.
And he runs and blends in with students and teachers who were evacuating the campus. They were evacuating the campus because they heard the fire drill. When the fire alarm goes off, it goes off through the whole campus. So they were leaving. The defendant runs and gets in with the group, and they all go, this whole group of students and teachers, out to Homburg Road to the north. They pass West Glades Middle School. They go out to Homburg Road. Defendant gets to Homburg Road. He goes west. He walks to Walmart, walks through the parking lot, goes into Walmart, goes into the Subway sandwich shop that's actually in Walmart.
What?
He orders an icy. He leaves a tip, pays for it, leaves a tip, takes his icy, walks out of the Subway, sits on a bench inside Walmart, drinks his icy, there for a couple minutes, gets up, and he leaves. And he walks over to Coral Ridge Drive, and he walks south on Coral Ridge Drive, and he walks to a McDonald's on Coral Ridge Drive. He arrives at the McDonald's at 3:01 p.m.
These childish priorities.
As he walks into the
Icy, McDonald's.
There's a student there named John Wilford. John Wilford was a student at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. He's sitting at one of the booths. He is the brother of Madeline Wilford, who was shot in classroom 1213. John had no idea what was going on. He certainly didn't know his sister was shot. He's calling, waiting for his mother to pick him up, as a lot of the students were, because they had evacuated. He's sitting at the booth. The defendant, Nikolas Cruz, walks up to him and sits across from him in the booth. And when you see the video, they're going to say, hey, they had to know each other. John Wilford didn't know him. And the defendant asked him for a ride. And John Wilford says, I'm not going to give you a ride. My mom's picking me up. She's going to pick me up. We can't give you a ride. So John's mom arrives in the parking lot. John gets up. He leaves McDonald's. The defendant follows him. He goes with him. He says, hey, look, can you give me a ride? He says, look, I told you, I'm not going to give you a ride. I'm going with my mom. So John gets in his mom's vehicle.
What up, Barry Anthony?
The defendant crosses Coral Ridge Drive, and he walks into an area called Wyndham Lakes. It's a development. He's walking in Wyndham Lakes. And about this time, there's an officer who's responding to help other agencies. His name is Michael Leonard. He's a police officer with the Coconut Creek Police Department. And he's looking for
That's good. Sick. Oh, no.
Wearing a maroon JROTC Marjorie Stoneman Douglas collared shirt, polo shirt, and black pants and a dark hat. So he sees Nikolas Cruz walking on Wyndham Lake South. He pulls him over, stops him, the police come, and he's arrested. The defendant is arrested at approximately 3:40 p.m. The location is approximately a mile and an eighth from McDonald's and 2.9 miles approximately from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. The police and the medical examiner's office, after that, arrived.
That's good. It's not
at Marjorie
monkeypox
Stoneman
here,
Douglas
Anthony.
at the 1200 building. And this is what they find. There are 14 deceased bodies at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas at the 1200 building. There are another 2 bodies at the North District Hospital. They were Gina Montaldo.
Yes. This is my first time going through it. Feel free to anybody pop in and tell me your thoughts. This is some striking
Gina was shot 4 times.
opening
She was
testimony.
14 years old, and she died from her wounds. They also took
Or an opening statement. This isn't testimony. The opening statement. Running down every second of this. There's details I didn't know.
Alcove. When the police came, he was still alive. They took him to the North District Hospital. Christopher Hickson, the athletic director, the campus monitor, was 49 years old. He was shot 3 times, and he died of his wounds. Martin Duque Aquillano is 14 years old. He was with Luke Hoyer, knocking on the classroom door of 1215. When the police came, they took him out, and they took him to Homburg Road and Pine Island Road to see if they could help him. Martin Duque Aquillano was 14 years old. He was shot 8 times, and he died of his wounds. And then when the medical examiner and the police came in, they saw Luke Hoyer. He had been moved by the police so students could get out of 1215, but Luke was still in the hallway. Luke was 15 years old. He was shot twice, and he died of his wounds. They went over to classroom 1216. It was Miss Haas' English class. Sure enough, Alex Schachter, 14 years old, was shot twice in the chest, and he died of his wounds. Alyssa Alfadef was 14 years old. She was in classroom 1216. She was shot 8 times, and she died of her wounds. Elena Petty was in classroom 1216. She was shot 4 times, and she died of her wounds. The police and medical examiners then went across the hall to 1214, Ms. Seamus's class, who was teaching Holocaust history. Helena Ramsey was shot 4 times. 17 years old, she died of her wounds. Nicholas Dorwet was shot 3 times in 1214, was shot 3 times. He was 17 years old, and he died of his wounds. And they crossed the hall to classroom 1213. In 1213, it was Carmen Chintrum. Carmen Chintrum was 16 years old, and she was shot 3 times, and she died of her wounds. They then saw Aaron Feiss, and Aaron Feiss was still lying just outside the west stairwell door, just to the south of the double doors to the west entrance. Aaron Feiss was shot twice in the chest, and he died of his wounds. The police had brought down, before the medical examiner got there, Jamie Guttenberg from the 3rd floor landing, and she was outside just to the north of the double doors on the west entrance. Jamie was shot 1 time. Jamie was 14 years old, and she died of her wounds. There was no one that was shot and killed on the 2nd floor, but on the 3rd floor, the police found just outside his classroom, 1216, he was moved a little bit too, was Scott Beagle. Scott Beagle was the geography teacher who was holding the door open for the students. Scott Beagle was 35 years old. He was shot 4 times, and he died of his wounds. Further down the hall, right in front of 1249, the police brought the bodies of Meadow Pollock and Carol Logren out to the middle of the hall so students could get out, after this was all over. Meadow Pollock was 18 years old. She was shot 6 times, and she died of her wounds. Carol Logren was 14 years old. She was shot 3 times, and she died of her wounds. They found Joaquim Oliver. Joaquim Oliver was the boy who was shot in the alcove of the men's restroom on the 3rd floor. The police had pulled his body out into the middle of the hallway too. Joaquim was 17 years old. He was shot 4 times, and he died of his wounds. Just to the west, still lying there in the southwest portion of the hall, by the west stairwell door, was Peter Wang. Peter Wang was shot 13 times, and Peter died of his wounds. BSO crime scene unit came, and they did their investigation. Here's what they found. There were 139 rounds fired in the 1200 building. There were 7 rounds fired on the 1st floor. There were 2 rounds fired in the west stairwell. Remember when the defendant shoots and kills Aaron Feiss? There were 2 rounds there. 6 rounds were fired on the second floor, and 61 rounds were fired on the third floor. 51 rounds were found.
That's a lot of
were found
ammunition.
in the third floor hallway, and 10 rounds were fired
In a short amount of time with a lot of fatalities.
Teachers Lounge 1240. They found 10 casings, the back part of the bullet.
That's crazy.
That's why I'm indicating this is what they found. As I said before, when you fire a semi-automatic weapon, a semi-automatic rifle like this one, TF.
Maybe it's you
6214
need
is the
proof
serial
that you
number.
need a
The
weapon that
casing
strong.
Pops out
honestly.
when another round comes into the chamber for firing, and it falls to the ground. That's how there were 17 casings on the first floor, 2 casings in the west stairwell, 6 casings on the second floor, 51 in the casings in the third floor hallway, and 10 casings in the teacher's lounge. And of course, there's 5 bullet holes in the west window, and there's 5 bullet holes in the south window. They also found the weapon, the gun, the 5.56 Smith & Wesson M&P 15. It was laying on the stairwell where the defendant left it. Still had a round in the chamber, and it had a magazine in it, and still had 23 rounds in the magazine. And laying next to the gun, just as he left it, was the tactical vest. There were 5 magazines still in the pouches of the tactical vest. There was a 40-round magazine that was fully loaded with 40 rounds. And these 40 rounds, all the rounds were either 5.56 or what, .223, because the defendant's 5.56 M&P 15 fires both 5.56 and .223. So there are 40 rounds in that one 40-round magazine in the tactical vest. There were 4 30-round magazines still in the tactical vest. 3 of those 4 30-round magazines were fully loaded with 30 rounds of either 5.56 or .223 ammunition. And there was the 4th 30-round magazine containing 29 rounds, not 30. They also found magazines that were changed by the defendant, discarded after he was through. On the first floor, they found a 10-round empty magazine by his backpack. Remember, knelt, took off his backpack, changed the magazine. It was an empty 10-round magazine by his backpack. In that same hallway, they found an empty 30-round magazine.
Goodness.
And all these magazines, by the way, hold both 5.56 ammunition and .223 ammunition. They found this empty 30-round magazine. Then they found another 30-round magazine in the first floor hallway that still had 9 rounds in it, live rounds in it. On the third floor, on the hallway, they found an empty 30-round magazine in the hallway itself. And in the teacher's lounge, 1240, they found an empty 40-round magazine, empty. This is what BSO found when they were there. You're going to see that there are 7 aggravating factors applicable to this case. And before I get into that, Judge told you about the aggravating factors and the weighing process. And remember I said it's a weighing process, it's not a counting process. So there are 7 aggravating factors for you to consider. The first one is the defendant has previously been convicted of a capital felony or a felony involving the use or threat of the use of violence. That's one aggravating factor, and I'm going to talk about each one of these aggravating factors in a little bit. The second aggravating factor was the defendant knowingly created great risk of death to many people. That's number 2. Number 3, that the first-degree murder, or in this case, murders. Don't forget, there's 17 sentences. So I'm talking about them as there's one, there's 17. That the murders were especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. 4, that the murders were cold, calculated, and premeditated.
Mm-hmm.
That the next one, the
Your opening
murders
statement
were
and the
done
evidence itself.
to disrupt or hinder a governmental
We all
function.
know
to
it.
wit, schooling. The next one
He's guilty.
is that the victim was an appointed public official in the performance of their duties. Scott Beagle was a teacher. He was an appointed public official. Christopher Hickson was an athletic director and a campus monitor. He was an appointed public official, as was Coach Spice. He was a coach and also a campus monitor. And the last one was that the murders were committed during the course of a burglary. You're saying, burglary? Yeah, burglary. When the defendant entered that school without permission to commit an offense, to wit murder, that's what a burglary is. And you can see that, let's take previous convictions. So you can, even though they're not prior to February the 14th, 2018, you can consider the murder of 16 other people, even though it's contemporaneous with the one. So if you have the murder of Gina Montaldo, you can use the murders of the other 16 victims as aggravators for that, and it would go for each other murdered victim. Okay? And the 17 attempted murder in the first degree of the surviving victims, who I mentioned their names and they were shot,
Goodness.
can
Yeah.
aggravate each one of the sentences for the deceased murder victims. And the other felony that you can consider, that on November the 13th, 2018, 10 months after the defendant was arrested, the defendant attacked a deputy, violently struggled and fought with him, took his taser, and there's a conviction for attempted battery on a law enforcement officer with a weapon. So they are in that, under that first aggravating factor of previously been convicted. You'll see the evidence will show that there was great risk, obviously, of death to many people. That the murders, all 17, were heinous, atrocious, and cruel. All 17 were cold, calculated, and premeditated. And that to hinder and disrupt the school function. He entered the school, he shoots Scott Beagle and kills him, and Aaron Weiss shoots him and kills him. The athletic director.
How did these charges even read?
They were appointed public officials. They were killed, to disrupt and hinder the school function. So they're the aggravating factors that you can consider in this case, and I submit to you have been proven, will be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And you'll see that these aggravating factors, and listen to, and I know you will, to all the evidence. Listen as carefully as you can, and I know you will. That these aggravating factors far outweigh any mitigating circumstances. Anything about the defendant's background, anything about his childhood, anything about his schooling, anything about his mental health, anything about his therapy, anything about his care. That the aggravating factors will outweigh any mitigating circumstances. After this was all over, the police,
his upbringing and home life do not outweigh the aggravating circumstances. This is crazy.
They collected the defendant's backpack.
This dude's great.
Outside of classroom 1216. They collected this Cabela black case that he had carried his AR type rifle in. It was on the stairwell steps, on the east stairwell. And laying about 3 feet away from the Cabela bag with earbuds still attached to this phone was the defendant's cell phone. 9504-821-1107. And the police did an extraction and took all the information from the phone. There were 3 cell phone videos.
Oh.
And the last one, and I'd said it before, the last one was on February the 11th, 2018. Hello, my name is Nick. I'm going to be the next school shooter of 2018. My goal is at least 20 people with an AR and some tracer rounds. I think I can get it done. It's going to be a big event, and when you see me on the news, you'll know who I am. You're all going to die. I can't wait. Those words, those actions of killing 14 children, the athletic director, a coach, and a teacher, is why we're here today. Cold, calculative, manipulative, and deadly.
Damn. And then he mic drops.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 10-minute break.
And we are also going to take a quick recess. That was crazy. That's a crazy opening statement. That was well executed. Well done. I believe we have all the way into some witness testimony. We have some people on the stand coming up. So we're going to keep trucking through, and I want to dissect, the notable moments from the trials in the days as it happens. So, oh, hey, no worries on missing much. That's why we're having a quick reset real quick. I'm going to take a quick break, guys. If you're new to the channel, smash that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. Pillar.io/MURKtv. On Pillar.io/MURKtv, we have the best sponsor in the world. We have our main sponsor, Death Wish Coffee. Boom. They have the world's strongest coffee. You guys should check it out. You should check it out right now while we're taking a break. I'll be back in 5 minutes, guys. Yes. Oh, I'm back. I'm back, gang. I made popcorn. I hope that's okay. I hope it's okay that I made popcorn. Needed a snack. Did you guys smash that thumbs up while I was gone? Did you double check to make sure that you have your bell set to notify you for all of the videos that happen on MURKtv? All of those things also help us in the algorithm. Help us grow. We're going for world domination, guys. We want to take over the world. The whole world needs to be Murkies. All right. Let's hop around a little bit in this Nikolas Cruz trial. We're behind a little bit, so let's see where we're at with maybe some witness testimony. What do we got going on next? Here we go. Let's hop back into it. I will say that opening statement was, I mean, you could hear a pin drop in that courtroom. The prosecution's got this in the bag, man. Nikolas Cruz. We all saw him on YouTube on, oh goodness, whatever the interrogation channel is that everyone loves.
You may be seated. The jurors are present. The attorneys are present. The defendant is present. Is the defense ready to proceed?
Your Honor, at this time, the defense would reserve their opening statement until our case is chief.
Oh,
Okay.
They're saving their opening statement.
Are you all ready to call your first witness, or did you plan to do that after lunch?
After lunch.
Okay.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have an early lunch break today. We're going to be in recess. Well, it's not that early. It's 11:52. So we're going to be in recess until 1:15. So the deputies will walk you out. Please remember not to let anyone approach you. Nobody.
Start with the families here.
All right.
Family members of Parkland murder.
We're here. We're already past their lunch break, so let's get to it. Let's get to
The
it.
shooting survivors. You have to
Post-lunch
remember
break.
what today means for them. Today marks 4 years, 5 months, 4 days since a then 19-year-old Nikolas Cruz went to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in an Uber armed with an AR-style rifle and shot and killed 17 MSD students and staff, hurt another 17. You may remember he pled guilty in October. Those guilty pleas to the murders is what set up the penalty phase. So it's an interesting position for these jurors to be in because guilt has already been established. The jurors sworn in this case, there's a 12-jury panel and 10 alternates. They're essentially walking into what is typically the second phase of a capital case, a penalty phase. So what they're tasked to do is listen to the evidence that, as we mentioned, is going to be starting right this afternoon, listen to the evidence from both sides, and they have to weigh the evidence that they hear and make a determination about whether he should be given life or death. So now we have this morning the start of all of this with opening statements, and lead prosecutor Michael Satz, remember that they are seeking a death verdict, right? They want to convince these jurors that the appropriate punishment for this crime is death. And so part of what he did in his opening statement in order to start giving an overview to the jurors of what kind of evidence to expect is really getting at some points even granular, but in that it was chilling and harrowing as he walked jurors through step by step, almost the point of view of the Parkland shooter, how he went from one hallway to the other, where all the victims by name were standing. He really stressed, for instance, the victims that were essentially shot execution style. These are ones that were already shot, wounded, maybe could have survived, but Nikolas Cruz doubled back on them and shot them. He went through the ages, how many gunshot wounds they died from. Now, the reason why he is taking all of that time to meticulously kind of present the facts of the case is one of the arguments he's going to be making throughout the state's case to these jurors is that the facts of these case show that it was cold and calculated, that it was premeditated.
If you guys want to hear me eat this popcorn, you're going to have to be in Discord. My apologies to anybody who happens to be in Discord with me. Do I have anybody hanging out? Nope, just me. Okay, well, you just missed me really eating some popcorn. So, yeah, you guys want Big Man Eats Popcorn ASMR? I got it in the Discord.
premeditated, that it was heinous and atrocious. Those are legal terms from Florida state statute of something called aggravating
have a
factors.
little bit of a
It's
sample.
what the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. In fact, jurors have to unanimously
That's all you get.
decide that one of these aggravating factors exists before they can even have death on the table as a possible sentence in this case. So that's why, from his point of view, it'd be very important for these jurors in the opening statement to deliver this, just the powerful nature of the
police
facts
going in.
themselves. Now, as this is happening, it was interesting. The jurors themselves, and the way I'm sitting in the courtroom, they're kind of right in front of me. Several of the jurors definitely began to be taking lots of notes, dutiful notes. Two stood out to me the most. One is a Broward County library worker. You could see her processing the information, especially when he was delivering some of those key details. You know, how many shots were fired over how much period of time. You know, she's writing that down. And the other one that was definitely a diligent note taker and seemed really engaged was one of the jurors who her job is a compliance supervisor for a medical device company. In fact, she had said during jury selection that her dad's a police chief. She was really engaged and leaned in. A lot of the other jurors, some of them sat back. There was one that at one moment, as they were going through, again, the ages of the victims, 14 years old, shot this many times. She had her hand just, over her face, just kind of taking it all in. As this is happening, of course, you have the family members, many family members of the Parkland murder victims in the courtroom, and some of them openly weeping in court. In fact, in front of me was the family of Helena Ramsey. One of her party literally had to leave the courtroom. She just had to physically walk out, as some others in that row were just trying to still be there and strong to support their loved one, but finding it very difficult to hear all of these details. You could hear them choking back and kind of trying to hold themselves together as tears are streaming down. Other folks on the other side of the courtroom, just several family members, especially when there was the father of Gina Montoya, when Satz said her name for the first time, and explains to the jurors where she was in the hallway. She had just asked a teacher if she could work on her laptop. In the hallway, they explained to work on a project. When she gets shot,
that was an emotional opening statement.
You see him just close his eyes and take a deep breath. Must take a lot of courage and strength to be family members of these loved ones.
I agree with this lady. Yeah.
In this space, you could definitely feel the weight of the moment in the courtroom. But you have to remember,
So
a lot
life
of
or
these family
death for
members,
Nikolas
and some of you
Cruz?
probably know this already.
Is the question.
Some of the Parkland parents have become activists, right? They've been very vocal. They've spoken about the death of their loved ones in public settings quite frequently as they advocate for sensible gun control legislation, things like that. But for them now to be here, right, at the start of a process that, again, they have been waiting for more than 4 years. So it was somber, and the other word would be powerful from the lead prosecutor. So the court went into recess. In a few minutes here, we're going to start back up with the state calling its first witness of its case. And one thing to keep in mind is, as of today, these jurors really are making history. This is a very unique case in that most mass shooters of this scale, again, 17 dead, 17 hurt, never make it to trial. According to FBI statistics, most mass shooters are either killed by police or commit suicide. And so the jurors are going to be asked to do this thing, to listen to what is going to be some harrowing, grisly evidence and testimony, and then be able to be open, right? Put their personal opinions and feelings aside. That's what they were told to do during jury selection. That's what they told the court they could do, to also carefully weigh the evidence that the defense will present, which is anticipated to be about his background, his childhood, and then in deliberations eventually weigh those and make that decision of whether it's life or death. They will have to be unanimous and choosing death. And so that means for the defense in this case, really all they have to do is convince one juror that the evidence they present has a higher weight than those aggravating factors, cold, premeditated, calculating, right, heinous, and atrocious. Just one to choose life, and he would get life. Back to you.
Christina, real quickly, our hearts just break for the families having to listen to the whole timeline of this harrowing event. But what about Nikolas Cruz as he was listening to the prosecution lay out its case? What was his demeanor like in court?
It's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. One thing I noticed is he does have a face mask on, which is not atypical, right? But I have covered all of the pretrial hearings for months, like 9 months. I covered every single day of jury selection. I have never, other than today, quite seen a mask quite that large, sort of covering a lot of his face, if you guys had a chance to see the live feed. And so it was interesting to me that he was sort of, his facial expressions were a little more hidden than I've ever quite seen. And I also thought, because I kept glancing over to him at certain moments, especially certain harrowing moments of the opening statement, just kind of wondering, and could he hear, for instance, I was wondering, some of the family members kind of crying in court. And he had kind of the same demeanor he has during a lot of these moments that we've seen in the past, where he sort of looks like he's busily writing something, and then we'll kind of confer back and forth with one of the attorneys. There was only sort of one moment that I personally ever really saw him kind of sit up, look around the courtroom, and sort of take in the moment. Otherwise, he was very focused on his desk or conferring with a defense attorney.
A lot to take in, Christina, on what is the start of what will be a very long process for at least the next few months. Thank you so much. We'll check back in later on, and we certainly have more coverage to get to you on this first day of the penalty phase in the trial for the Parkland school shooter, both on air and online. For now, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
What? All right, let's get to it. Where's the business? How long is their dang lunch break?
But the world is watching these opening statements, and it was really powerful. It was really powerful to not only see these family members in the courtroom listening to this, but you have to think that they know that everyone is watching it too.
And the jurors are watching it. And I think one of the interesting observations.
Here we go. Let's get back to it. Sorry about that. Goodness.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You can go ahead and put your hand down, and if you wouldn't mind scooting out. Please state your full name for the record and spell your last name.
Brittany Sinich, spelled S-I-N-I-T-C-H.
Okay, and Ms. Sinich, what do you do for a living?
I'm a teacher.
And okay, and how long have you been a teacher?
I started in 2017.
Okay, 2017. Mm-hmm. And where did you start teaching in 2017?
At Marjorie Stoneman Douglas.
Okay. Are you familiar with Marjorie Stoneman Douglas?
Yes, I was a student there.
Okay.
And then I went on to become a teacher there after college.
Okay. And I'd like to call your attention to February the 14th, Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018. Were you working on that date?
Yes.
Okay. So, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, where do you work? Where were you teaching on Wednesday, February the 14th?
My classroom was on the first floor of the 1200 building in room 1218.
Okay. Let me show you State's exhibit.
Smash that like, everybody. Hello, welcome. I see you all there.
Ask you if you can identify this photograph.
Yes.
Okay. Does that truly and accurately depict what it shows?
Yes.
As an aerial?
Yes.
And does it truly and accurately depict how Marjorie Stoneman Douglas campus looked on February the 14th?
She was a new teacher when she started working there.
Your Honor, this time I looked off.
I mean, or when this happened. She was a new teacher when this happened.
Any objection?
No, ma'am.
She kept teaching, it sounds like. Through a pandemic after that.
Will be received as State's Exhibit 1.
Talk about a rough time as a teacher. Went from this to COVID.
Okay.
It's horrific.
People are amazed that I can work this. All right, Ian, everybody can see that now? Okay. Can you see that, Ms. Sinich?
Yes.
Okay. There's a way you can Mark, do you know how to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so let me clear the screen. So would you mark where the 1200 building is? Okay. And do you know where the east pedestrian gate is?
Yes. It should be here.
Okay. All right. And that's the way it exists.
Mr. Sachs, just one moment. Are the monitors?
Okay.
I know, it's my understanding there's some type of privacy screens on the monitors and the jurors are not able to see what you're showing them completely.
They're supposed to. Who's preventing it? Supposed to. Yeah.
See what's up there.
If you're watching at home, by the way, we're going to go to General Hospital, but please keep it with us on local10.com online.
They cut over to General Hospital live.
Okay, so for those of you who are watching
That's hilarious. That's
at
hilarious.
home on television, you know that we've gone to regularly scheduled broadcasting, but if you continue to join us online right now on Facebook or on local10.com, we continue to, looks like maybe we're back.
You can see, sort of adjusting yourself.
Yeah, did we get the
so
rest
that
of the
you can
testimony?
have
This has been a
a
train wreck trying to
clear
cover
view
this,
of what's
the way they
being
break.
shown, and then we will, once you go home, we will work on fixing this problem. Who was it that was not able to see? Would you raise your hands again so that I can?
It's been hard to
Oh, what? They're going home?
Oh, okay, great. All right, thank you so much. Mr. Sachs, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor.
Sure.
Ms. Sinich, I'm sorry. Would you be good enough to circle the 1200 building again for us?
It's not on the screen, right?
Wait.
Okay. I just need the
A
tool
janky
as well,
setup they must have.
the pen.
You can press one of the colors. You don't,
It's not on the bottom right now.
Ian?
More technical difficulties with this thing.
There you go. How about that?
No.
No?
Figure it out. You guys fill some airtime so I can eat my snack, courtroom. Jeez.
Oh, there it is.
March on February the 14th, 2018.
Yes.
Please tell us what you remember happening.
It was fourth period, which for us was the end of the day because we do block schedules. And it was Valentine's Day, so we were writing Valentine's Day cards. We were reading Romeo and Juliet, so they were pretending to write cards to each other as if they were characters, and we were having so much fun until I heard what I described as just the loudest noise you could possibly imagine, going directly into my hallway. And when that happened, everything was just happening very quick in my classroom. A student made sure the door was shut. We shut the lights off. My students went into corners. I had some with me behind my desk. Almost instantly, I called 911 just out of instinct. They couldn't hear me over the sound of the gunshots. It was so incredibly loud. And that was it. We just hid under my desk, we hid in the corners, and we tried to stay as quiet as possible until what I heard was like a walkie-talkie type of sound, and to me that's what a police sounds like. So I peeked over my desk and I saw them in uniform, and they signaled us to wait until it was time to leave, and that's when they signaled us out, and we made an immediate right out of my building.
Okay. Did any shots come into your classroom?
No.
Was anyone shot in your classroom?
No.
So these loud bang, how many bangs do you think you heard?
It just wouldn't stop. I don't have an absolute correct number or an accurate number that I could count. It just kept going and going and going.
Did all these bangs have the same degree of loudness, or did they dissipate or appear anywhere else in the building?
They were incredibly loud. The ones that were outside of my classroom, it's like you could just feel it within your body, like all throughout your chest. When he was upstairs, you could tell they were faded, but they were just as loud, where you still knew they were gunshots happening throughout the building.
Okay. And how long did you wait before you heard the walkie-talkie and the police said, "Hold on, we'll get you"?
I don't have an accurate remembrance of time. It felt like a long time being there with my students under there. I don't remember what time it was.
Okay. And when you left, how did you leave?
We exited directly right of my classroom, which was there's an entrance exit door there.
The east entrance toward Pine Island?
Yeah.
Okay. And you made a 911 call?
I did.
And what time did you make that 911 call?
So when I heard the first gunshot, it was probably seconds or maybe even a minute after,
Okay.
around 2:22.
Okay. And have you heard that 911 call since then?
Yeah.
Let me show you State's Exhibit, Mark, see for identification. And ask you if you can identify this little drive here.
Snack accomplished.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
You've heard this disc?
Is that a yes? Yes.
Yes. You guys know what this is? 911 call?
Yes.
Yeah, any objection? Okay. When offer State's Exhibit C, please, Your Honor.
Okay, without objection, State's Exhibit C for identification will be received as State's Exhibit 4.
And I'd like to play it.
Okay?
All right, I'm done being on fire. I was just upset at how janky just watching this, trying to just watch this court coverage has been. Trying to go through and hit the pertinent moments of the day so we can analyze.
We're at Stoneman Douglas High School, and I think there's a shooter.
Hello?
Oh.
You still there? Talk to me, please.
You can hear the gunshots in the...
And those were the bangs that you heard in the beginning of the call, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sinich.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Any questions?
No, thanks.
No questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Danielle Gilbert, please.
Thank you, Mr. Excused.
honest bit of testimony from a teacher that was there. Again, we're weighing life or death. Horrible as this might sound, and as horrible as Nikolas Cruz's crimes are, I'm not for the death penalty, but I'm going to save my opinion for the rest of this trial. Man. We've got some pretty hot emotions going on now. And then again, Nikolas Cruz obfuscating off into some attempts at doodling. Who knows? What do you guys think Nikolas Cruz is into right now? Think he's scheming up some prison tats? What is this? Horrible person.
Forget to write his manifesto.
There's my homie. Dude, he's like, I'm just now getting around to it. In court right now. Okay. This is who we have testifying next. Another teacher, I wonder.
Good afternoon. You can go ahead and be seated. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. Please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Danielle Gilbert, Gilbert.
State you may inquire.
Ms. Gilbert, good afternoon. What do you do for a living? Or what?
Oh, I'm a student right now. I'm at UCF.
Okay, all right. Normally I would start out by asking your age, but you're out of school now, so I don't want to get anywhere near there. So you're in school, right?
Yes.
Where do you go to school?
University of Central Florida in Orlando.
Okay, what year are you in?
I'm going to be a senior this fall.
Okay, I'd like to call your attention to February the 14th, 2018. Do you remember, were you in school then?
Yes.
And where were you in school?
I was at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
Okay, and on February the 14th, 2018, what year were you in?
I was a junior.
Okay. I'd like to call your attention to that day, that Wednesday. Do you remember your fourth period?
Yes.
Okay. What time does school start then, on that day?
7:40 a.m.
Okay. And the last class ends at what time?
2:40.
Okay. So your fourth period was what?
AP Psychology.
And who was your teacher?
Miss Rayoven.
And what classroom were you in?
1213.
Okay. So during fourth period, would you please tell us what happened?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So at the beginning of fourth period, when it's just started, we were in the middle of a lecture, as per usual, and we were all seated in our desks listening to Miss Rayoven give her lecture in the front of the classroom. And in the middle of her lecture, we heard the first couple of shots. And from there, we dropped to the ground and started running towards the window. However, our teacher realized that by the window was right in view of where the window was in the door. And so she had realized that and told us to come behind her desk where we were out of sight of the window.
What kind of window was that?
It was a small rectangular window in the door.
Okay. And so what do you do?
And so once she tells us to go ahead over to her side of the desk where we're out of sight, we immediately turn around and all 32 of us go over to that side of the classroom.
Okay. And then what time does class start, the fourth period? 90-minute class?
It's an hour and a half class.
Hour and a half, so like 1:10?
Sounds about right. I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
Right,
But you
Debbie,
know
that's
it
wrong
ends at
and
2:40.
wrong. I feel the same way.
So tell us what happens after you go near Miss Rayoven's desk.
Definitely guilty.
So, then we go over to the other side of the classroom by her desk. And at this time, he still hadn't shot into our classroom at that point.
I'm just not for the death
just
penalty.
Sitting, kind of like sitting ducks. We had no way to protect ourselves, no way to stand up for ourselves. And once we were all kind of over by the door and away from the door, that's when he had shot into our classroom. He injured 4 people in my classroom, one of them being fatal. And from there, we just kind of sat and waited until the police came and took us out of the classroom.
Okay. And who did you see that was injured?
Benjamin Wikander, Samantha Mayer, Madeline Wilford, and Carmen Shenchup had passed away.
Okay. And were you near any of them?
Not in particular. They were more towards the podium and by the whiteboard, and I was more towards the door.
Okay. And did you do anything to record what was occurring?
Yes. I'm not exactly sure why,
shall
but
not
my
kill.
initial
I
instinct
like that,
was
Debbie.
to
Yep,
pick up my phone
exactly.
and start recording. And so I did. I took several videos of what was happening.
She had recorded some of this, huh?
Okay. And did you retain those recordings?
Yes.
And did you turn them over to the authorities?
Yes.
Okay. And have you viewed those videotapes since?
Yes.
Okay. Let me show you State's Exhibit Mark D for identification. and ask you to take a look at this drive, Ms. Gilbert, and see if you can identify her.
Yeah.
And are your 7 videos contained on there?
Yes, they are.
And did you initial this to
I did.
say it was the same, one and the same?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to offer State's Exhibit D.
Is there any objection?
Yes, Judge, we have a sidebar.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, so this is witness number 2. This is Danielle Gilbert, a UFC student, a UCF student. She was a junior at MSD.
She's learning to fight.
When this happened. What's
UFC
happening right
student.
now? People are putting their headphones back on.
Either only the people in the courtroom are going to hear what was on this, or there's some discussion being had amongst the lawyers as to how they're going to go about publishing this. There are going to be graphic images here, so this may be the first example of how the judge is going to control what is seen inside but not outside of the courtroom. They're having some discussion, it would appear at this point.
Fascinating.
They're playing some of the audio off
Fascinating.
of it to sort of float it through the lawyers first as to what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, we know, based on the ruling last week, that the public, the media, won't be able to see everything because some things are too graphic or gruesome. Were some images,
trigger
some
warning,
videos,
Trigger
were they
warning.
already flagged as being that way, or are these decisions
It's
being
because
made
it's from a
as
shooting, lady.
witnesses come into the stand?
It's
I
all
think gonna
violent.
make
It's
things
all
move a lot quicker if they pre-flagged what videos. And I think there was a discussion in one of the preliminary hearings about which videos, which photographs were going to be submitted and then allowed to be viewed. I know some of the argument was, with medical examiner testimony, do you really have to even show that to the jurors? So I think that they know what some of these images are and who's going to be able to see them. So to that extent, that may be part of the discussion they're having now. Or, in fact, what they're doing is they're showing it to the people in the courtroom, but the fact that only the attorneys and a judge are wearing the headset, to me, means that they're listening to something, trying to figure out what it is they're going to play and what parts of it they're going to let everybody else hear.
If you are just joining us right now on Local10.com, this is the sentencing of Nikolas Cruz. We heard from the state. We heard one witness just about 15 minutes ago, Brittany Sinich, an MSD teacher. She was in a first-floor classroom. No shots were fired into her classroom, but she did call 911, and we did hear that 911 call, which was really the first piece of evidence that we've heard. The first audio piece of evidence that we heard, and even just those few seconds were chilling. You hear her, you hear gunfire, and it was really heart-stopping.
It was compelling, and you could see the tears in her eyes just as before they were going to even play the call. She knew what was coming, and she was there. She acted and saved the lives of the students who were in her classroom with her by doing what they were all told to do, turning off the lights, get in the corners of the classroom, hide under the desk, don't move. Who knows where Cruz was at that point, if that action, in fact, saved the lives of all of the kids in her classroom. And you could just see the emotion on both her face and them, which was actually brought to tears.
And the defense was asked if they would cross, and they did not. What could they possibly...
There was nothing they were going to do other than inflict damage on themselves by trying to get her to relive this again. There was a point well made by the witness. They introduced the exhibits they needed to introduce. There was no point in cross-examining that witness.
And now, right now, we are on witness number 2. This is Danielle Gilbert. She's a UCF student. She was a junior at MSD when this happened. She said she was in the classroom. She said that Cruz shot into her classroom. 4 were shot, one of them fatally.
Does Nikolas Cruz get headphones for this?
Take her camera out, and she took some videos, and that may be what the attorneys are discussing now, either whether some of those videos can be shown in open court, in the public. I think that's something that they're doing.
Here we go. Sounds like we can hear it. Whoa. Whoa. Those are gunshots. Trigger warning, guys. I mean, whoa. Oh. Yeah, people are having to excuse themselves. Yeah. Anybody? This is horrible. This. Some crimes are heinous enough you forfeit your right to live. I do believe that. And it's hard to not, you know, feel pushed towards that mentality hearing this audio. I can't believe this has been released to the public.
Fireworks don't shatter glass. Lock it.
Yeah, and they have to pull more audio out for the public. We can't hear that.
Can you hold, please?
These people struggling to, you know, people in their last moments is what it sounds like, and that's unfortunate. This is horrible. Poor girl. She was a girl.
I think those police are here. I can hear voices. I think so. It sounds like police. No, I don't know.
This is the audio that Danielle captured of the day of the shooting. Oh, what up, Dunn? What up, Danny? Okay, now on the tapes you can hear the police rolling through. Let's see. Hop forward to some questioning, perhaps. I can't listen to too much of the audio, but we were at the end of it anyway. Let's see.
I need help! I need help! Somebody help! Oh my God!
A lot of agony. You can hear it in the voices.
Logan, my desk with my water bottle. Can you get my phone? With the bag, with the water bottle next to the balloon. Yes.
You hear people in their, what we know are their final moments, some of these voices. And it's unfortunate. This is emotional to put in front of a jury.
Okay, Ms. Gilbert, I want to show you State's Exhibit marked 3 that's been introduced into evidence. And if you'd be good enough...
Is that emotion on Nikolas Cruz? Is that him hiding his head? He ran away from a lot of this reaction to what he did in the moment.
To point out classroom 1213 for us. And do you have the, let me see, yeah, okay. Could you circle 1213? Thank you, okay. Ms. Gilbert, thank you very much.
That was audio from classroom 1213.
Advance, any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss. You're excused.
No cross-examination from anybody. This is kind of getting strange. It looks like they call another person up. Let's check it out.
The gunshots, we all ran to the corner of the room. Some went to the room next to the door. The other half of the class went to diagonal of the window. And we knocked down a file cabinet, tried to get behind it, get as many students behind it, and kind of just waited. And then I peered around the corner, and eventually the shooter started shooting through the window, and bullets were flying through. Ducking down, waiting 20, 30 seconds, and then it stopped.
Massive feedback in their
And I looked
courtroom.
over, and 2 people were dead, and multiple people were shot.
Okay. And you said the bullets came through the window. Describe where this window was.
The window was in the door into the classroom, right in the middle.
Okay. And did you see anything through the window?
Yes, sir.
What did you see?
I saw the shooter.
What did he look like?
Wearing a hat, glasses, a vest, and I could see his gun.
And did you see the gun?
Yes, sir.
What did the gun look like?
A large AR-15.
Okay. So you said that 2 students were dead. Who were they?
Nicholas Darrett and Helena Ramsey.
Okay. And did you see anyone who else was wounded?
Yes.
No courtroom has a skilled sound tech
Sam
or
Grady,
news outlet.
Sam Fuentes.
Bad
Isabel
sound tech.
Checker. I can't remember. Multiple people.
Okay. So tell us what happened after that.
We waited. I called the police. I called my parents, or texted my parents. I checked Nick's pulse, and I waited for the police to show up. Eventually, they came through, cleared us out, took out the wounded first, and then basically just told us to run out of the building.
I'm sorry.
Out of the building.
And approximately how long did you wait before the police arrived?
Maybe 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay. And did there come a time where you viewed a video of what occurred?
Yes, sir.
And what did it show?
It showed a student in my classroom and the door where the shots were coming through, and you could hear the shots.
Okay. And did that video, that audio video, did it accurately and truly depict what you saw and what you heard?
Yes, sir.
On February 14, 2018? I want to show you State's Exhibit Mark.
Yeah, it was a video and audio of in the moment, like from the moment.
Ask you if you could look at this drive for me.
Yes, sir.
And have you seen this before?
I have.
And did you watch what was on this video, this audio video?
Mm-hmm.
Did it accurately depict what you heard and saw February the 14th, 2018.
Definitely.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to offer State's Exhibit E.
Mr. Wheeler, are you handling this witness? Defense?
Judge, same objections we had before.
Okay. Over the defense objection, State's Exhibit E for identification will be received as State's Exhibit 6.
More evidence. Evidence made even stronger by the corroborating testimony of these
Blocking some of the view has moved. You need them back.
witnesses and survivors.
I don't think so. No. I don't
Okay.
think so.
And survivors. Whoop. Now, hey guys, we know that sound. That's the USB sound. Someone is thumb drived. They're thumb driving, huh? There we go. Whoa. Whoa. Just hopped on that. They just got right to it, huh? Wow. Yeah, Nikolas Cruz here. You remember doing this. Why he's acting like that. Yeah, I hope it sucks. Nikolas Cruz is miserable right now. Still got muted audio from the courtroom. Yeah, looks like it. Looks like that it's too spicy to play for everybody. Sounds like it was pretty... Yeah. Oh, they're back to headphones. Interesting. All right. The audio come back.
Additional audio, the victim who was up on the stand now, Mr. Kramer, who was also a junior, but he was in the 1214 classroom, he was describing what he saw take place, and I thought that they were going to actually ask him to identify the defendant sitting in the courtroom today.
I thought they were going to,
Perhaps
too.
That's going back to my days where you're proving guilt and not penalty here. But, you know, he described what he saw happening, from putting the file cabinet in front of the window to see shots coming through the window and people being shot all around him, and that when he looked out the window, he saw Cruz firing the weapon through the window, and then they were playing some audio for him to listen to. I'm not sure what the discussion is they're having about the audio, why they had to go for a sidebar right now. But again, this is yet just the third witness, and for the amount of evidence that's actually been introduced, just the devastating effect against the defendant and the ability of the state to show these aggravating factors is coming in through only the third witness. And the state said that they're going to put on a case that's going to last weeks. And, you know, at some point, it just sinks in to these jurors that there really is no mitigating circumstance that's going to outweigh these aggravating factors. And perhaps that's why the prosecution has taken such a rigid position. We know that the victims' families have asked that that be the only penalty here. And again, hearing from three witnesses, devastating testimony, this is why they've dug their heels in.
Absolutely devastating. And witness number 3, this Dylan Kramer, who spoke and described looking out of the window of his classroom door that was shot. He was the first witness who said he saw the shooter. He said not only did he see the gun, but he saw the shooter. The other witnesses heard the gunfire, they heard the commotion and the carnage and saw it. The second witness, as you know, videotaped it, so we heard the audio of that, which was absolutely devastating.
All right, we're back here. Let's hop forward.
All right, you see it? You know how to do it?
Probably. Should I 12 14?
That's it. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Your Honor,
All
I have
right.
no further questions. Thank you, Mr. Kramer.
Did they cross?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We're going to take a 15-minute recess.
And again, they don't cross. So let's see if the defense says anything today. Let's see if
It was during that time that one member of the victim's family or friend made an audible response saying, "Turn it off, turn it off." It was at that time that the court turned on the white noise. The Broward Sheriff's Office followed the instructions that the court had previously given them, which was that any individual who is disruptive or has an emotional outcry should be removed by the Broward Sheriff's Office. Judge, it is necessary to declare a mistrial in this case because the jury was present during all of this. It would bring unfair prejudice to Mr. Cruz and impair his fair trial rights. It could inflame the jury, garner additional sympathy and anger towards the client. A denial of this motion would violate Mr. Cruz's right to due process guaranteed by the 15th and 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, as well as Article 1, Section 9 of the Florida Constitution, and 6th and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 16 and 22 of the Florida Constitution, as well as the 9th and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution, equal protection and basic rights guaranteed by the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Based on the foregoing reasons, the defense moves for a mistrial as the prejudice to Mr. Cruz by what happened in this courtroom in front of the jury would render this court to provide Mr. Cruz with the ability to have a fair and impartial trial. This is upon consultation with our client, and he is in agreement.
Okay, first of all, my desk is elevated, and I could not see who was speaking because the person is in at least the 6th or 7th row, which I would say is at least 150 feet from the bench. That's number one. Number two, I couldn't hear what the person said. In the abundance of caution, I asked the white noise be put on. But somebody shouting one thing when you don't see them or you can't hear exactly what they're saying is not even close to grounds for a mistrial. The jurors, I don't even think any of them looked. As far as the volume being on the loudest volume possible, that's not grounds for a mistrial. I asked the state next time turn it down a little bit, but so that people can see it. But your motion's denied.
Yeah, that's insane. She's trying to mistrial.
As an officer of the court, I can make a representation that I heard the individual in the gallery of this courtroom say twice, "Turn it off, turn it off."
Do you want to say anything else, State?
Go, ew, Danny, ew. Dude.
I advised the lawyers what the witness said because the sheriff's office told me.
Your Honor.
And that's the only reason that I knew. The defense did not tell me what the witness said until just now, as an officer of the court or not.
Your Honor, the state agrees with the court's ruling, and the volume was very loud. It was extremely loud, and I think that the witness, or not the witness, turn it off. The volume was so loud as to turn the volume down, Your Honor. That's what it could be attributed to. And we agree with the court's ruling. The motion for mistrial should be denied.
All right, State, do you have another witness to call?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Jury's not here.
Oh, please. Thank you for reminding me. Small oversight.
I can't believe they actually had the audacity to try to push for a mistrial.
The defense asking for a mistrial. They initially
that happened today. I can't believe that happened today. They asked for a mistrial because of some loud audio.
said that the volume was so loud and that there was a member of the audience who objected, and that all happened while the jury was there. And they said that was grounds for a mistrial.
The argument that they were trying to make was that a member of the audience heard the sound from the video that was being played and said, turn it down, turn it down, turn it down, and then ran out of the courtroom. And the inference they were trying to draw was that it was so prejudicial to the jury that how could they view their client as not having satisfied, again, one of these aggravating factors. I think that their argument would have had more weight in a guilt phase because you're trying to determine guilt or innocence, and those types of things have more of a detrimental effect during the guilt or innocent phase. But here in the penalty phase, I don't know that it rose, and I agree with the judge that it didn't arise to the level of her to call a mistrial on this. But again, points out the importance of the people who were in the gallery of maintaining their composition and not letting their emotions affect them in a way that's going to negatively impact on the actual trial.
Which would, of course, be extremely difficult considering the nature of what we are seeing and hearing. The judge said where she is sitting, she's elevated. She could not see that particular loved one or family member leave. And so that just means that now we move forward to the next.
It won't be the first time or the last time that such a motion is going to be presented by the defense, nor the judge going to have to rule on something like that.
It sounds like they're going to call their next witness, I believe. Let's take a listen. Okay, the mics are open, but nothing is happening quite yet, so we will wait. This could very well be the last. There we go. The jury is now walking in. All right. This could be the last witness of the day.
Depending how long the testimony is and how much longer they want to go. It's been a long day. Despite there not being that much actual in-courtroom activity, the judge may be willing to cut it short at 4:30 or so. That's how long it takes.
There have been some delays, some technical issues. We've listened to the opening statement from the state and 3 witnesses so far. So we do understand that now, once the jury comes in and sits down, they will call their next.
Thank you for your patience. The jurors are present. State, call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Maximo Rosario.
Yeah, Debbie, there is always one. I let him roll too long. I should have muted him with Rich.
Good afternoon, sir. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing
I'll
but
take
the
their
truth?
plays and super chats,
Thank you,
though.
sir. You can put your hand down and be seated. And when you're seated, please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
My name is Maximo A. Rosario. Last name is Rosario.
And Mr. Rosario, what do you do for a living?
I currently work for the Broward County School Board.
And what do you do for the Broward County School Board?
I'm the current director of classroom technology.
Okay. And how long have you had that position?
4 years.
Are you familiar with Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School?
I am.
And how are you familiar with it?
I was assistant principal there for 10 years.
How long were you an assistant principal?
10 years, over
10 years?
over 10 years.
Okay, when did you start as an assistant principal?
I was appointed in December of 2007.
Okay. Did you have anything to do with the video surveillance system that was set up at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas?
I did.
Please tell us what part you played in it.
So I've done the training, and I was trained by district staff on how to use.
Okay. We're just running through. Oh, excuse me.
At Marjorie Stoneman Douglas.
Okay. And when did that take place, sir?
So there was a system already in place.
Running
so
through the
it
black
was-
and whites
It was up.
of the security system, still just kind of validifying and really making that evidence solid here. Looks like, let's see, who do we have up next? Do we have anybody? Again, there's no crew, there's really no family or friends of Nikolas Cruz to bring up that would come up. So wondering who all we get testimony from today.
Good afternoon, sir. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down and be seated. And when you're seated, please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Gaston Nieves, Nieves.
You may inquire, state.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Neves, what do you do for a living?
I'm a digital forensic examiner for the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been forensic examiner for 18 years now.
Okay. And what is your training?
I have a bachelor's degree from Florida International University in Management Information Systems. I also have a master's degree from Florida International University as well in Management Information Systems. I'm certified by the FBI to do forensics on Windows machines, Macintosh machines, cell phones, Linux and Unix systems. I also have certifications that are from the SANS Institute, which is like an independent organization that does cybersecurity training. So some of the certifications I hold from them are the GX Certified Forensic Analyst, GX Certified Forensic Examiner, Advanced Smartphone Forensics.
They bring in a cybersecurity
as,
analyst next.
Incident handling.
Okay. And you indicated that your title is Senior Forensic Examiner?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And do you handle digital forensics?
Yes, sir.
What is digital forensics?
Digital forensics involves collecting, preserving, and analyzing and extracting digital evidence, meaning anything that could come from a digital device. It could be a laptop, it could be a server, it could be a desktop computer, a cell phone, an external hard drive, a thumb drive,
info,
cameras. So anything that stores information in a digital format, we're tasked with analyzing those sort of items and extracting data in order to assist with the cases.
Okay. And the process that you just described, how many times have you done that in your career?
I've done probably over 1,000 examinations.
Okay. Mr. Neves, I'd like to call your attention to Friday, February the 16th, 2018. Did you have an occasion to respond to a certain location?
Yes.
And where did you respond to?
I was asked to respond to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in reference to providing assistance with a search warrant to collect the video surveillance system from the high school.
Okay.
Is that they got the video? Was this guy? Okay.
I was with Special Agent Carlos Costello.
Okay. Mr. Neves, I'd like to show you State's exhibits number 17, 16, and number 15, sir, and ask you if you can identify that.
They're being thorough as prosecutors. Not only did they establish where they got their evidence from right off the top, and have a really great opening statement that again went. How did she describe it? The news anchor earlier, granular but poignant. So he went from this granular but poignant, like very detailed opening statement into breaking down not just eyewitness testimony, but having the eyewitness testimony work to strengthen the evidence. And now we have, now he's not just strengthening the evidence through, is this a valid representation of what happened to this video or this audio of the shooting? He's now building and showing to the jury how, like, all the way to chain of custody of the security tapes. How, like, the chain of custody was even, here's its history. Here's how we know it's true. Here's how we know this is the most honest representation of what this person did that day. And in most crimes, homicides in particular, you don't have a video like that. You don't have evidence that strong. So that's, I'm genuinely up in the air so far as to if this kid deserves life in prison or the death penalty. I do think there are crimes that you can commit that are so heinous that you forfeit your right to live in the public's eyes. But I'm not for the death penalty. I do believe all humans are infinite potential, and no matter who you are, maybe there's something that can come from it. Positive. It's the only thing the universe is good for is you making a positive out of it. I don't know. But anyway, back to this prosecutor. He's built beautifully strengthened all of the evidence, all of the witness testimony. The story is the story. And he's got complete control of the narrative right now.
Pictures of the
and they've let him have it.
Collected on that date.
Okay, and when you collected the server, Mr. Nevis, what did you do?
I was assisted by Mr. Kessler, and one of the things that we did before seizing the server was changing the passwords on the server so that we would be able to access the system in an easier fashion after we would have seized it. And he escorted us to the library, and within the library they had the data center. And within the data center there was a cage that had all the different servers. So he identified the server that it was. We changed the passwords as we needed to, removed it from the cage, and then they gave us a cart, and we did the necessary paperwork for chain of custody purposes, and then we rolled it out.
Okay. And what did you, when's the next time you saw the server? Did you take the server somewhere?
So that night I took the server back to the Miami field office of the FBI, and on Monday morning was when I started working on the server once again.
Okay.
As far as starting the extraction for what had been requested.
Okay. And let me show you now State's Exhibit Mark T for identification, and ask you, Mr. Davis, if you can identify this.
This is the solid storage drive that contains the video that was extracted from the parking server.
It's a solid storage drive.
The server contained a lot of information, right?
Yes.
Okay, a lot of hours.
Yes.
Did you narrow it down when you extracted it to get this exhibit?
Custody to establish how it was downloaded and what was done with it.
Yeah, chain of custody.
Broward, the Broward Sheriff's Office. You can also call Broward County Crime Stoppers at 954.
All right, it looks like that's really what has happened in day one. We have a really good prosecuting attorney really laying it out. It looks like they are still, they wrapped up. Good. Well, right on time for us to take a quick break, but not before plugging our sponsor, Death Wish Coffee. Guys, if you go to pillar.io/MURKtv, click on the link at the top, boom, Death Wish Coffee, buy it. It's the world's strongest coffee. You should really get some. We'll take a quick break, ski guys, and then we'll come back. We'll talk about other news. I'll talk to you guys. I want to hear how everyone's doing. We'll just do some hanging out. We'll lighten things up a little bit. Be right back. I'm back. What's going on, guys? Hello. Hi. I'm here. Okay. What's going on, Europe? Hey, UK. What up, Europe? What up, Debbie? Oh. Yeah, hey, just hang out for a bit, Justin. We're gonna take it pretty easy now. I've gotten all of my mandatory topics out of the way. You know, I wanted to catch everybody up with where I was with Russell Dormand. I'm probably gonna do more research into Russell Dormand. Is it, oh, what's coming closer to her? Oh. I'll tell you right now, Europe's on fire. There's wildfires in Europe, which is that even a thing? You Europeans let me know. But I pulled up some European news.
Good evening, it is good to be with you. And we begin tonight with fires raging across Europe and floods inundating South and Northwest China. As many Europeans endure record-breaking heat, climate scientists caution that these extreme weather events are likely to happen more often. The buzz of helicopters filled the air, racing to extinguish dozens of wildfires burning across Spain. Roads are cut off and thousands of residents have fled their homes.
I am doing very badly, very stressed and very badly. We are all very stressed. It's a shame how the fields are burning.
At 104 degrees Fahrenheit, it's only making it more difficult to extinguish the fire. Climate change affects everyone. This area, which is green and cool in the summer, is becoming very hot, like the South.
Interesting.
Across the border in France, a similar story. Firefighters working to contain the flames of several wildfires.
As an American, it's honestly really wild seeing European fire trucks. For you guys that are listening, they are showing these, like, you know, little European fire trucks, and it's not that they're silly looking, it's that they're different. Here in America, we have these big, like, massive fire trucks with just bumpers on bumpers.
Dealing with very considerable drought due to insufficient rainfalls over the winter and spring, an especially dry month of May, and we now have particularly high temperatures, as you can feel.
The high temperatures extend north to the UK, where people crammed onto beaches in search of relief from the heat. Less than 1% of homes there have air conditioning. Authorities have issued an emergency declaration ahead of even higher temperatures expected tomorrow and Tuesday.
Yes,
From not enough water to far too much. Flash floods inundated parts of southwest and northwest China this weekend.
Whoa.
12 people died and thousands were forced to evacuate their homes.
Whoa. Gnarly. Okay. So not only is there not enough water going on, it's also dry. There's wildfires. We also have. You guys are also having a gas shortage.
What do you think the story is going to be in a few weeks?
There's a gas shortage. Guys, we got to get you some resources. Everywhere needs resources.
Is Europe going to get the gas it needs this winter?
We must all be feeling the Ukrainian conflict.
Increase
war in
after
Ukraine.
The 21st, but only back to their low recent level. We've had a headline that Canada is shipping the turbine back. From Russia's perspective, resuming some flows allows for higher revenues, of course, but still some potential leverage down the line. I think the risks, though, are significant and for Europe, potentially quite dramatic if those flows fail to materialize. Ultimately, even at those reduced flows, Europe has to go through more demand destruction through high prices. They'll restart coal, they'll try to import LNG, but all that is still insufficient. We need less industrial gas consumption in Europe, even under a modest recovery scenario. And of course, the main risk is no recovery, in which case it's a true industrial recession that you need to see in Europe to make it through winter for local consumers.
And that's one part, Damien. The other part is that, well, what if actually things are okay and we get 40% of Nord Stream 1 coming back online on July 21st? I just feel like the risks on either side are so wide. And I wonder if you could help me understand kind of what price forecast you have to look at, and then the volatility that can ensue, and sort of how that then
Expensive gas, I imagine,
incentivizes
if
or
you guys get a hold of it,
decentivizes
Europe.
producers.
Yeah, so we've looked at those scenarios, right? So there's the scenario, Alex, where you do get the normalization to 40% of Nord Stream 1 flows. The TTF price that you see right now at about 180 would come down to about 150. In the latter case, where the flows don't resume, then we're going to 210. And again, in both cases, we actually do embed that the government is forcing non-price related demand adjustments, right? That's an important component. Without those policies, the price upside would be even greater. So I think you could see that the risk is symmetrical, but in either case, though, it is sustained very high natural gas prices for Europe. And a margin error that's pretty small, right? You know, if you get a cold winter, then that still is a highly insufficient amount of gas in storage by the beginning of winter.
Well, guys, Europe. I hope you guys get it figured out. I hope everything works out. I really do. Everything's gone up there, Debbie. Yeah, you know, it has here too. It really has. It's gotten really expensive here. Food's gone up in a way that it's like, I mean, heavy inflation since I've moved downtown. Hopefully, we'll be moving at some point soon to a better spot within Tucson. I've been really tired of, more than anything, just the homelessness. The homelessness has been insane. It's been extra, just extra. Like people no pants on, smoking fentanyl outside of our window. This window, frequently. Like it was every day for almost a week. There for a minute. And it got to the point where downtown security says call 911. 911 says we're on our way. Describe them. We're sorry. It really seems like it makes Tucson look really bad. And there's people here. I just went to grab a drink earlier from the market a block away. And not only were those drinks more expensive than they were 6 months ago, some of the homeless people who were trying to get me to pay for their things, mostly foil, people buying, like, I'm not going to buy your foil, dude. People trying to, you know, people saying they're from New York and things like this. People are from the entire other coast, making it all the way out here with their fentanyl issue. It's been a little bit nutty, but hopping out of the state of the world's infrastructure, again, things are collapsing and getting hot in a way that we're gonna see some redefinitions of some borders for sure in our lifetime, more than we've already seen if you're my age or older. And history does what history does. World's not ending is the important part. The world's not ending, which means you have plenty of time to buy some Death Wish coffee. Anyway,
President Biden's return to the U.S. after...
That's right, we're hopping into Biden, guys. Perk up! We're talking about Biden. Get excited. We're shuffling his husk all around Saudi Arabia, it looks like. It looks like he's finally made it there. I clicked on this because it's from, who is this from? It's from Democracy Now!, and it's labeled, Biden fails to hold Saudi Arabia accountable for Khashoggi murder. Now, UAE arrests his lawyer. So it seems like maybe Biden's getting diplomatically ran over by this Saudi crown prince. Let's
trip to the Middle East, where he met Friday with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The two men greeted each other with a fist bump. The meeting comes 3 years after Biden vowed as a presidential candidate to make Saudi Arabia a pariah for the state-sponsored killing of the Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi in Istanbul in 2018. The publisher of the Washington Post, Fred Ryan, criticized Biden, saying, quote, the fist bump between President Biden and Mohammed bin Salman was worse than a handshake. It was shameful. It projected a level of intimacy and comfort that delivers to MBS the unwarranted redemption he has been desperately seeking, unquote.
Ooh.
During a news conference after their meeting, Biden said he told Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman that he held him responsible for Khashoggi's murder.
With respect to the murder of Khashoggi,
Biden's doing the opposite of making them a pariah state. He's actually delivering on giving them their first positive bit of global PR in a minute. Dang, dude.
Khashoggi.
Dang,
I raised it
dude.
at the top of the meeting, making it clear what I thought of it at the time and what I think of it now. And it was exactly, I was straightforward and direct in discussing it. I made my view crystal clear.
A top Saudi official later appeared to contradict
Oh,
Biden,
no.
saying he never heard the president telling the crown prince that he was responsible for Khashoggi's murder. During Biden's visit, Saudi Arabia agreed to increase oil production and to open its airspace to Israeli commercial flights. The U.S. agreed to remove troops from Tehran, a strategically located island in the Red Sea, in a move that will help pave the way for Saudi Arabia to take control of the island. While in Saudi Arabia, Biden also met with other leaders from the region, including the president of the United Arab Emirates. The meeting came on the same day a court in the UAE sentenced the civil rights attorney Asim Ghafoor to 3 years in prison. He's a U.S. citizen who worked as a lawyer for Jamal Khashoggi. He was arrested Thursday during a stopover flight in Dubai. He had been heading on to a wedding in Turkey. He's been accused by the government of alleged tax evasion and money laundering. Meanwhile, here in the U.S.,
He's been
Vermont Independent
laundering
Senator
money.
Bernie Sanders said Sunday on
Laundering
ABC's
money.
This Week Biden should not have gone to Saudi Arabia.
No.
Should Biden have gone?
No, I don't think so. You have a leader of that country who was involved in the murder of a Washington Post journalist. I don't think that type of government should be rewarded with a visit by the President of the United States.
I agree with Bernie Sanders.
That is worth $100 billion, which crushes democracy, which treats women as third-class citizens, which murders and imprisons its opponents. And if this country believes in anything, we believe in human rights, we believe in democracy. And I just don't believe that we should be maintaining a warm relationship with a dictatorship like that.
For more, we're joined by Sarah Lee Whitson, Executive Director of DAWN, that's Democracy for the Arab World Now, of which Asim Ghafoor, who was arrested by UAE, is a board member. Her recent article in the American Prospect is headlined, "America's Middle East Withdrawal Breathes Its Last Breath." Sarah Lee, we just spoke to you last week ahead of
that's a
Biden's
fair
trip.
headline.
Great to have you back. Can you respond now to what actually has taken place? The meeting of...
We were days ago on the stream. The news was making a big deal if Biden was going to shake this crown prince's hand or not. You know, there's blood on it. But the point I made was there's also blood on Biden's hands. And yeah, Justin, this is the exact same person. And Biden actually shook his hand in front of cameras.
Jamal of the man who U.S. intelligence has said was responsible for the murder of the Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
I mean, I would have to agree with the Washington Post. The fist bump seen around the world will live in infamy, will become the legacy of President Biden as a man who broke his promises and broke them in such a disgraceful manner, bumping fists with the man he promised to the American people he would make a pariah. That is one hell of a way to be remembered.
I wanted to get your comment on this comment when CNN's Wolf Blitzer was sitting in Jeddah with the Saudi Foreign Minister Adel Al-Jubeir, who was in the room during President Biden's meeting with the Crown Prince about the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
The U.S. intelligence community, as you know, concluded that the Crown Prince effectively ordered the killing of Jamal Khashoggi.
I don't believe that was specified in those terms, one. Number two, it was an assessment. Number three, we know what the intelligence community's assessment was with regards to Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction. Kingdom of Saudi Arabia investigated.
Dude's dropping heat.
This crime. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia held those responsible for it accountable, and they are paying the price of the crime they committed as we speak. We investigated, we punished, and we put in place procedures to ensure that this doesn't happen again. This is what countries do in situations like this. This is what the U.S. did when the mistake of Abu Ghraib was committed. This is what the U.S. does in other situations that involve combat operations or that involve any situation where somebody transgresses or makes a mistake.
So that's Saudi Foreign Minister Adel Al-Jubeir speaking on CNN. Your response, Sarah Lee Whitson.
Well, I think Adel Al-Jubeir's credibility is absolutely zero. He is a lying liar who previously went on international media to claim that Saudi Arabia had not killed Jamal Khashoggi, that in fact he had left the embassy, rather the consulate in Istanbul, of his own accord. He represents the government that had someone dress up as Jamal Khashoggi to walk out of the consulate to pretend that Jamal left. So I think that we can take anything that Adel Al-Jubeir says with a boulder of salt because he has a really tragic record of lying. At the same time, I think that we have to understand that this is the price of non-accountability. This is the price we pay when our president fist bumps a murderer. We are giving them license to say, oh, well, ho-hum really can't be that bad if your president is fist bumping with the murderer. President Biden has put us in an impossible position to tell the American people that he told him that he believed he was responsible, but proceeded to fist bump with him and have a chummy relationship with him. What is the message that sends? The message that sends is that if you are a wealthy oil-producing country, the United States will look away and fist bump with you if you have something to offer. If you think that that you have something to offer, like billions of dollars of weapons purchasers.
Yeah, we've been like that.
Really,
that is how we roll.
That is going to harm America's standing.
It's one of our favorite things.
Harm America's interests.
Money,
and frankly, it just means that no one will take America seriously anymore when it talks about accountability.
No, we want it. We are cool with it. We've been this way, lady. Look, Sarah, I'm sure you're just as American as I am and probably been here longer than I have. Let me tell you. We are that way. We are 100% the way we're being perceived. If you have something that will benefit us, particularly after COVID and supply chain issues, yeah, we'll take them and we'll forgive you. We don't care what you did in the past. Obviously, that's what our government's up to. And obviously, they've been like that in the past. Look at America's strange business relations through World War II. You guys know all about that kind of conspiracy stuff. I don't have to harp on all that, but
with what straight
we
face
are
can
like
the United
this,
States
Sarah.
be sanctioning Iranian leaders for sentencing, unjustly sentencing, for example, a wrestler to death, when in the same moment the United States is fist bumping with a man who ordered the most brutal and heinous and shocking murder of a journalist who was working for the most published newspaper in our country, and treats it as, oh, well, all well and done now.
Sarah Lee Whitson, before we go, I wanted to ask you about any updates on...
And that was the point I was making, though, was like, do you realize how many journalists his admins killed? I'm not saying I know that for sure. I'm just saying, you know, world leaders are world leaders. It's hard. You're only a world leader for so long before you're a war criminal.
On the sentencing of one of your board members at Dawn, the Democracy for the Arab World Now, in the United Arab Emirates, Asim Ghafour, when he was making his way through the airport to fly on to Turkey.
Well, we are shocked and completely surprised by this. We understand, because of what we've been told, that there has been an in absentia conviction against him. On the basis of what evidence and what charges, we have absolutely no idea, because this has never been communicated
An absentia
to
charge.
Asim Ghafour, and certainly not something we ever know about. At a very basic minimum, Mr. Ghafour is entitled to basic due process, something that the UAE has never shown any good record in. We are very concerned about his health and well-being, given the very well-documented record of torture, abuse, arbitrary arrest and detention in the UAE. And we are standing by to learn more information.
He was sentenced to 3 years in prison?
I mean, this is what we have read in the UAE's mouthpiece official statement, saying that a court in the UAE had convicted him in absentia to 3 years in prison and a fine of $800,000. We have no idea what the basis for this is.
There's no.
Mr. Ghafour has stated that he had no notice, no information about this whatsoever.
Yeah, and the UAE's like, we're still just dropping charges however we feel, and we don't care. Wow. That's a little extra, man. That's a little extra. Before we go out of here, let's check up on monkeypox. Let's check up on the rest of the world.
Health director, along with a San Francisco supervisor, are criticizing the federal government's response to monkeypox. They say they've been begging for more vaccines, but that their requests have gone unanswered by the CDC. Crawford's Rob Nesbitt takes a look.
Eager to get a monkeypox vaccine, Jake Lahr waited in this long line at San Francisco General Hospital Monday afternoon. He was eventually told that all shots were spoken for before making it inside.
They cut the line in front of us and said, you guys have to go home. The folks who I know who were just in front of us who did get to stay in the line, I think waited almost 2.5 hours.
Whoa.
He returned Tuesday to this, waiting 2 hours just to schedule an appointment for later in the afternoon.
They are trying to do the right thing, get vaccinated, protect themselves, protect others in the community. I think it's just been a really frustrating response.
Director of the San Francisco Department of Public Health, Dr. Grant Colfax, says his requests to the federal government for more shots have gone unanswered.
We are literally begging our federal partners to provide more vaccine so we can get it into the arms of people who need it most.
Dr. Colfax has requested enough supply to vaccinate at least 35,000
Those boils
people who
look
are most at risk.
bad.
Supervisor Raphael
Blisters.
Mandelman introduced a resolution Tuesday calling on the CDC and Department of Health and Human Services to purchase and distribute more shots.
This should be a preventable public health crisis.
Criticizing the federal health plan to distribute 800,000 vaccines by the end of summer and 2 million by the end of next year. Numbers that don't fly for those waiting to do their part in stopping the spread.
If it's impossible to get a vaccine here, what's it like in Arkansas? What's it like in Mississippi? Like, it just...
Oh, it has to be impossible in Arkansas. Funny he mentions that. Have to be impossible in Arkansas. I mean, right? Right? All right, guys. Let's wind it on down for the day. Looks like everyone's having a pretty busy Monday. Monday's normally a pretty low viewer day for me. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday that start popping. But, thank you Ride or Dies, for hanging out. Thank you for indulging me in the Russell Dermond mystery earlier today. Hopefully Arianthe gets to feeling better. Y'all can, hopefully I catch some more people in time for the Discord. Or in time for them to hop in to the Discord. Miss everybody. Had a long weekend. But I feel like maybe being quiet and just playing some video games, you know, don't have too much to see. You know, yesterday I didn't have a thought between my ears, man. Oh, thank you, Debbie. Didn't have a thought between my ears. I had full vacation mode this weekend. Wasn't thinking, finally relaxed. You know, we did a lot last week with the channel. A lot of streams. Again, shout out everybody that showed up for the Alex Murdoch rabbit hole stream. That thing's numbers are the best numbers we've had in a minute. Everyone's taking a hit now that everyone's back at work post-COVID. So every view means the world to me. If you guys weren't here, or if you're watching this post-mortem and you didn't check out the Russell and Shirley Dormond rabbit hole stream, you should check that out. It's only an hour long. And we really run through some wild, just one of the most wild true crime cases, and it's an unsolved mystery. Check it out. Check out the video from earlier today. These are both going to be in the News Dump playlist. I'm pretty much done with News Dump as a format already, guys. I'm going to just be following rabbit holes. Something that keeps the entertainment rolling, you know, keeps the mind moving. They released a documentary on Netflix recently that's really had my brain moving about psychedelics. There's a movie on Netflix, How to Change Your Mind, or a show. I think it's a show on Netflix, How to Change Your Mind. It's great. It's great. Right, 100% up my alley, having been a psychonaut in the past. We're going to go out on this song. This is Golden by Aragod. Be sure to get some Death Wish coffee from pillar.io/MURKtv. We're MURKtv now. I'm going to try to figure out how to get back on Twitch by this evening. I'd like to play a video game on Twitch. Maybe some Fall Guys, maybe some Star Trek Online. Trying to convince Lux to get down on some Star Trek Online. I'm not trying to convince. She's been doing Valorant streams and I've been napping. If anything, she's been trying to convince me. Don't let me word it like that. But we'll be back, guys. Stay tuned and subscribe.